Okay, this season is finally over, except for those extra episodes. But tonight seemed like 2 hours of the Justin, Alexis, and Mitch show. And I guess we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to Romance Review TV with Lady T. Got another recap for you guys. Married at First Sight, Season 15, Reunion Part 2. And yeah, I see people in a whole different light. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this. Okay, so it left us from part 1 where it was a cliffhanger with Alexis and Justin having this whole back and forth about whether or not who did what and who was the person that did the most in the relationship. And yeah, it was at the point that Justin felt like he was being gaslit. Take a look.
I'm just not allowing you to get no, Alexis. I allowed you to gaslight me for the longest, and you're doing it again. You like the truth. I'm just telling my truth, what I saw. You came on to me back at my apartment one night. You came from them. That didn't happen.
On to you, never.
Okay, I don't understand for the life of me why she's saying no, it never happened, and he's saying yeah, it did happen, where she came to his house at night after the club, and she's saying no, I never did that. He's saying yes, you did, and he was really trying to push this whole thing that yeah, you did. I don't know what to believe. I'm more leaning toward Justin because he sounds like he's trying to call her out, and she's like, no, that didn't happen. Well, we had the families on. We had his brother and her sister, and his brother said, yeah, he wasn't ready for marriage. And that goes all the way back to that episode that we saw at the beginning of the season where his brother was like, I don't think you're ready for this. And even her sister, she even brought up the fact about her spiciness and that it could be a little bit too much for somebody like Justin, who is a little bit more emotional than she is. And so basically it also came down to the situation of his dog. Check it out.
To Colorado, and we made a whole road trip back. We stopped in Utah, Vegas, and then made our way back to San Diego.
So I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but I posted that reunion of him and Maya on my channel about a few weeks ago. So he did get his dog back, but him giving up that dog and him being not honest about the fact that he eventually resented doing this caused a huge problem in their relationship. And that's probably where the bottom fell out, because at the honeymoon, it seemed like they did very well, but the situation with the dog, her dog, his dog, hot mess. So now we have the women tell all with Kevin, and pretty much everybody is still cool with each other. They have a group chat where they keep up with each other. Of course, Morgan was out early in the season, so she really couldn't talk to anybody because they were still filming. But they really honed in on this whole situation with Morgan and how everything went down with that. And of course, the ladies wasn't happy about that. They voiced their opinion on how this was handled. Even so, Alexis, she even, apologized for this whole situation as well. But at the end of the day, pretty much the ladies are still friends. But this is the part that was way too much for me. Let's listen.
I was just about to get to that. Thanks for making me food, Stacia.
You're welcome, bitch.
You mean this Mitch or that Mitch?
You bitch.
Okay, so even though it seemed like he took it lightly, I am not a fan of the usage of that word, especially, I know a lot of women tend to call each other that. I'm not a fan of it. I look at it as a derogatory term. But in this situation, for her to just use that so loosely with him, and he took it in stride probably because of the fact that he could not react and he was already in a bad place as it is. Yeah, that didn't go over well with me. So then the conversation switched over to Krysten and this whole thing with Mitch and the level of attractiveness. Now, if you've heard my previous recaps, I don't have an issue. I know that everybody is not attracted to me. I don't expect to walk past every man and hopes that they are attracted to me. And it's the same way. I'm not attracted to every guy I come across. But this whole thing where it was just, maybe he should have handled it and how he said it differently. But of course, it was the demise of the marriage. And of course, she took her ring off. Now, it did switch to talking about jury because she also, and I think this was an ad at this moment, talking about James Allen jury. But hey, Stacia likes her ring. Then it switched over to Lindy, where she was thinking that Miguel was so controlling and telling her what to do and things like that. And when she claimed, once she realized it wasn't him doing that or being controlling toward her. It was her reaction to how she felt in that moment versus what he was actually doing to her. Now, I know a lot of fans might disagree with that because they were definitely calling him controlling, especially after that prom. Then the conversation switched to Stacia about Nate at early in the season only being at 40 out of 100. Okay, you guys were like a week into it. He don't know you. To be at 80, at close to love, that would have been too soon for me. A week? And I know this is an accelerated process and you're around these people 24/7, you're filming, but that is a no for me. So I didn't understand the big deal about the 40 out of 10. Out of 100. We also saw the whole thing where Stacia was supposed to be babysitting and taking care of the dog for Krysten, but looked like Nate did most of the work, and she admitted to it that pretty much Nate took over when she was the one that was supposed to be watching Krysten's dog, but Krysten was okay with that, so there was no issues there. Moving on to Alexis, they bring up the whole situation, what happened at the dinner party, when everybody was sharing things at the table, but when it came to Alexis, she didn't want to share anything, which is what Justin was trying to push. Now, she claimed outside of the cameras, they said that they weren't going to talk about anything on screen. Well, he decided he wanted to talk about it, and it went left. And so she put that out there. So in this case, that does make it look bad. So now it's the men tell all. And so it was so funny that pretty much all of them are talking to each other except everybody talking to Nate. The four guys, Miguel and Mitch and Ben and Justin are talking, but not Nate. So I find that interesting because in the previous episode, I thought Justin blocked everybody. So I don't trust everything I see on this show because some of this stuff don't make sense. And by the way, Ben does hang out with Nate because they got videos all over YouTube where they're working out. Anywho, this whole thing where, they were talking about him crying, meaning Justin. Miguel came to his defense and says, hey, I don't have a problem with being emotional. But they also talked about the conversation that happened surrounding Morgan and Ben, because Morgan and Ben were extremely attracted to each other in the beginning, and it was hilarious how much that Morgan would really want to jump this man's bones. You can tell. And he was blushing behind it because, he probably didn't expect that Morgan was going to say all of that. But she did. I remember all of it, and it went way left after that. But what we haven't forgot is the Nate situation.
What were you thinking?
Well, what he was thinking was that he was trying to party and, as he said, turn up. He also said Stacia had no problem with it. She realized that this is his bachelor party and he do what he want to do. And the fans were ballistic. Everybody thought he was a player, an F-boy, and everything else. And yeah, obviously it didn't bother Stacia one iota. However, when it came down to this whole situation with Justin and his emotions, that whole situation went left. And I kind of touched on it with Miguel kind of, giving him his props. But yeah, let's see how this all went down.
I just thought that he was going to be super excited for it, man.
You sure?
He wanted it as bad as I did. And so, like, to see my friend
I know.
hurt,
I know.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it cracked me over for sure. Like, I should have did something about it.
So yeah, Justin admitted that, hey, he's a self-proclaimed emotional man. Again, Miguel supported it. We also heard Mitch supporting it as well, saying that there's nothing wrong with a man who shows their emotions, saying that it's a release. However, when we saw the facial expression of Nate, it was a different story.
That was weird. Hey, you know what? This is exactly why your wife said you need to get in tune with your emotion. You can take some notes. It's that short man syndrome.
I was so disappointed in Nate, and not because of the whole crying thing, but it seemed like he was trying to be antagonistic all night. Justin was a different story last week, but it looked like he tried to maintain himself, whereas Nate, it looked like he was throwing rocks out there just to get something started.
You know what? I own it too. Yeah, I mean, you're you, I'm me. Big facts. Big facts. Okay. All right.
I mean, it was embarrassing to watch. I don't understand why these two were throwing so much shade at each other. But anyway, so let's talk about the experts. They were actually on set. They talked to Mitch and Ben first. And, they hit Mitch really hard this episode, especially on his attraction level when it came to Krysten. His whole thing with the missing ring, his comments about he want a woman that's more natural. And then there's Ben, who, of course, he apologized repeatedly. They ran a whole tape about how many times this man apologized because he is so selfless. And so, as much as he took accountability over and over and over again, Pastor Cal was like, at some point you can't lose yourself. And with Mitch, he explained to the fact that he always felt like an outcast. So he would always be on defense mode, which is what we saw a lot of this particular season, because when he's back in the corner, he tends to lash out. And then they had both Morgan and Krysten. And Krysten, her thing was she needed more patience. And then in regards to Morgan, she said that she's in counseling right now to deal with how she reacts to certain things. And I think that's great because there are a lot of reactive people. And even, Dr. Pepper said that solves 50% of the problems. One thing they found interesting, the experts, was that Krysten and Mitch, they could not understand how they have the most amicable divorce. And it came out that they actually got in the car and started kissing. So I don't know obviously it's some things there, but it wasn't enough to keep the marriage together. And as for Morgan, they told her she just quit. You quit too soon, and that y'all should have gave the marriage a chance. Then the experts sat down with Nate and Alexis again. And so, of course, as much as they said yes on decision day, 20 minutes later, unfortunately, they said no. And then they went back about, why this happened. And actually, the experts, and especially Kevin, can see potential with this couple. I don't, because she wants to be free. I don't think she want to be married right now. And then his personality is that he wanted so bad that his emotions are so tied into it that he has to be with someone who can nurture him. And she's not willing to do that. My advice, move on and away from each other. And then they brought up the whole shirt gate. And of course, we know Mitch wore it to the event, but then he took it right back off and put on something because he claimed that he felt like he was forced into wearing something and that made him uncomfortable. And, you know, I don't buy things that I don't expect other people to wear, so I don't expect people to do that. And Kevin threw a curveball saying to him, isn't that what you're doing with your wife? And he said, nope, it's not the same. However, the other guys, such as Miguel was like, I felt like I was in a corner, but I just went with it, and so did Nate. Nate said he didn't care. And then they readdressed the whole thing with Stacia using the B word with him, and do I think he liked it? Of course he didn't. He said he didn't, but then he just adapted to it. I'm not okay with it, but that's just me. I mean, to go around calling that, that's a no-no. They actually had a conversation about Ben once again, where, you know, Justin had made his comment saying how Morgan wasn't ready to be married and he should have been able to talk to whoever he wanted to. And even Mitch said the same. And as for Morgan, of course, she felt otherwise, and the women supported her, of course. But he did apologize, and we even heard Alexis apologize as well, saying that she shouldn't have did that. Now there's this whole conversation with Stacia and Lindy on Lindy consummating her marriage with Miguel. Take a look.
You had good intentions, but I'm an adult. Like, I'm capable of making decisions. I was ready, and it happened very naturally. And that's the whole point. Like, I am able to say no, and I am able to say yes.
Yeah, because it was interesting the way Stacia described that when they were all meeting together, as if he pressured her into it. Yeah, and I'm glad that, you know, she kind of spoke up for herself. However, once again, the spotlight is on Justin and Alexis.
Now, Justin has said that they were the first to consummate their marriage.
Here we go.
No comment.
Let us have Justin, were you the first to consummate your marriage?
We consummated the marriage, yes.
And Alexis was like, yeah, we did some adult things, and, you know, I don't want to go into detail. And they kind of went into detail, but here we go.
We put some negligee on, and we worked it out properly. We consummated the marriage.
But not on the honeymoon.
That's what I'm personally saying. Do you disagree?
Yeah, we kind of agree to this.
Because this is a very touchy subject, and I don't want to get into it.
Same.
My goodness, either you did or you didn't. Okay? And I mean, obviously, if it's something that she wants to keep secret, that's just gotta be what the situation is. But here we go with Nate.
Something different because
Nate,
it seemed like I just understand a little bit more how she was approaching.
I don't even want to hear what you have to say. I don't take it from a mutual standpoint because you have animosity towards me. So what you say with a grain of salt.
So I never had anything against any of you all because it was just.
Don't talk to me, okay? Don't talk to me. I don't want you to say nothing else.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Don't talk to me.
Nate, leave him alone. It looked like you were just put in place there for the moment just to pick. But it doesn't end there.
Even as a friendship, I catch myself like, damn, that might have hurt her feelings. And it's some that I'm working on, and I ain't perfect. I'm gonna get there, you know? And I just pray.
You gotta work on the lies, bro.
Shut up, man. You talk to him.
I'm just
Stop. Can both of you.
God, you like a kid.
Can both of you just stop?
Nate is the one that needs to stop Stacia. I mean, Justin was in the middle of a conversation with Kevin, and your husband, Nate, kept interjecting with these little darts that he kept throwing. And it just kept the drama and the messiness going. It was ridiculous to watch. It was 2 hours of this whole thing with those two going back and forth. They pretty much ran the whole episode around Alexis and Justin. And then this whole thing with Mitch and the B word was just out of control. So I wish everybody the best. I guess we'll get to see what happens after the season in the next episode. Lindy and Miguel seems to be doing okay. And everybody else just move on and be happy. Okay, so let's get the conversation started down in the comment section. What do you think about this whole thing with Alexis and Justin? Everything from the consummation of the marriage to did she stop by his house that night? What do you think about the ladies using the B word so freely when it comes to Mitch? And this whole thing with Nate and Justin, what the heck is going on with that? Where is that coming from? So, until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.